These are the top 5 things not to do in Australia. Part 2. Whether you're living in Australia, moving to Australia, or just planning a visit, I've got you covered with the top tips to avoid awkward moments and costly mistakes. From dodging deadly danger noodles to navigating vast distances and embracing the classic Aussie snacks, these tips will help you blend in and enjoy your time traveling in Australia. And stick around to the end to learn another ultimate Aussie phrase that'll help you sound like a local. Let's go. Number 1, don't mess with the danger noodles. Alright, let's talk about Australia's infamous danger noodles, or what they're more commonly known as snakes. Australia's home to some of the world's most venomous snakes, including 10 of the world's top 25. In fact, Australia's snake scene is like the VIP list of the reptile world, full of variety and surprises. So here's a VIP list of Australia's most venomous snake. We've got the inland taipan, eastern brown snake, and the coastal taipan, which are considered dangerous due to their potent venom and aggressive defense mechanisms. So the inland taipan, also known as the fear snake, is considered one of the most venomous in the world, with venom capable of a human in under an hour if left untreated. However, it is very reclusive and rarely encountered by humans. Next, we have the eastern brown snake, fast, feisty, and responsible for the most snakebite fatalities in Australia. And then the coastal taipan, known for its speed and potent venom. And of course, let's not forget about sea snakes. Yeah, Australia has sea snakes, found in the warm coastal waters around Australia. They may seem graceful and just glide through the water, but don't be fooled, they're highly venomous too. So while sea snakes are generally not aggressive, it's probably best to admire them from a distance. And here are some of the non-venomous but dangerous snakes in Australia. The amethystine python, one of Australia's largest snakes, and it can give you a nasty squeeze, but isn't venomous. And then we have the olive python. This python is large and powerful and capable of constricting its prey, but it doesn't pose a significant threat to humans. Instead, it focuses on hunting its natural prey, like small mammals and birds. And finally, time for the list of the harmless sneaky snakes. Green tree snake is completely harmless and often found hanging out in trees. And the carpet python, a common sight in homes, especially in attics. Great for keeping rodents in check, but totally non-venomous. In fact, every time I've seen a massive python, Aussies are like, "Aw, that 2-meter long python is just a baby." Well, if that's the case, I don't think I'm in a hurry to meet its mum, but thanks. So here's the deal. Whether it's a harmless python or a deadly taipan, just assume that they're all dangerous and leave them be. One of the top things you should not do in Australia is mess with a snake. Because another fun fact, there's a snake in Australia that looks almost identical to another species, but one is deadly and the other isn't. The deadly eastern brown snake and the harmless copperhead look almost identical. Want to know how to tell the difference? Well, you need to count their butt scales. Seriously. To tell the difference between the deadly eastern brown and the harmless copperhead, you technically need to count the scales around its cloaca, which is near the tail, essentially their butt area. I didn't know snakes had butt areas, but there we go. I mean, how would that even play out? Oh, hello, Mrs. Snake. I don't know if you're harmless or deadly. Would you mind just flipping over so I can take a closer look? Hold still, thanks. Now this is something herpetologists might do, but for the average person, it's not practical or safe. So if you encounter a snake that looks like either, the best advice is just to keep your distance and treat it with caution. Because let's be honest, if you're close enough to a snake that you can count the scales near its butt area, you've taken a wrong turn. And of course, something that Aussies love to do is come up with nicknames for everything. And here are my favorite nicknames I've heard on my travels. Of course, we have the danger noodle, because why not make them try to sound cute? Murder spaghetti, for when danger just doesn't seem to cover it. The nope rope, because the only appropriate response is nope. The hiss puppy, slightly more endearing, but don't be fooled. The schnicky snake, cute but cautious, kind of like me. Okay, so let's get serious. What should you do if you see a snake in Australia? Apparently running around like harmless chook is just not recommended. Number 1, stay calm. No sudden movements, save the panic for later. Number 2, keep your distance, move away slowly, and give the snake plenty of space. Number 3, don't touch it. Even if it looks harmless, never attempt to handle a snake. We're not Indiana Jones, so don't even try it. Number 4, alert others. Give everyone around you the heads up without causing a stampede. And number 5, call a professional. If it's hanging out in your home or poses a danger, it's time to call in the experts. Contact your local wildlife authorities or a professional snake catcher. And if you've been bitten by a snake, seek medical attention immediately. The emergency number in Australia is 000. Number 2, don't try and see it all in one trip. Australia is massive, way bigger than Europe. You wouldn't try and see Europe in 2 weeks and enjoy it, so don't attempt that in Australia either. Distances are vast and flights can be pricey. For instance, I've seen flights from Brisbane to Adelaide, which is a 2.5-hour trip, go for $600 one way. But don't worry, let me help you out. Here are my 3 key pieces of advice to planning the most amazing trip down under. First up, prioritize key destinations. Because Australia is enormous, just focus on a few key highlights that you've always wanted to see, like the Great Barrier Reef, or the Sydney Opera House, or stargazing in the outback, and truly enjoy each location. What I would do is make a list of all the things that you want to see and check out where they are on a map, and then you can visually see where you want to go from there. Like, you might want to explore Queensland and its key spots, like the Whitsundays or Hamilton Island. And Queensland in itself is huge. I mean, you could fit the UK in there roughly 7 times. Or maybe just focus on South Australia and Victoria. Adelaide has been voted one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And you can drive from South Australia, do the Great Ocean Road, and then head into Melbourne. I did this a few years back, and I highly recommend seeing it for yourself. It's just stunning. And so for the most epic road trip, I would start in Adelaide, and then when you head down to Melbourne, you go via the Great Ocean Road, and you take in the highlights like the 12 Apostles, and the Lockhart Gorge, and the Otway National Park, and then continue to Melbourne for a taste of the city life, and then loop back to Adelaide through the stunning Grampians National Park, where you can explore rugged mountain ranges, waterfalls, hiking trails, and on your way, make sure you don't miss the beautiful pink salt lakes near Dimbola. It doesn't really matter where you start, but either way, the route offers the perfect blend of coastal beauty, vibrant city experiences, and natural wonders, making an unforgettable adventure through Southern Australia and Victoria. No, that's 2 different places. And I did this road trip in about 9 days, and I spent a night in most of the key locations and 2 days in the coastal town of Apollo Bay to recharge, and then 2 days in Melbourne. So my top travel tip is don't try and see it all, just enjoy the journey and make the most of each place you visit. And my next travel tip when planning the best holiday in Australia is consider travel distances. You got to understand that travel between major cities can take hours by flight or days by car. You don't want to spend most of your trip waiting in airports. Remember, you're only human. Jet lag is real. So when planning your itinerary, keep travel time in mind to avoid exhaustion. For example, if you want to see the adorable quokkas on Rottnest Island in Western Australia and the Sydney Opera House, just know that a direct flight from Sydney to Perth typically takes like 4.5 to 5 hours, and the flights can range from $200 Australian to $600 Australian one way. Not impossible, but just keep that in mind. Like I said earlier, flights aren't cheap. And if you want to do a road trip in Australia, I need you to keep these things in mind. When planning a road trip in Australia, please don't wing it. There are vast stretches, particularly in the outback, where there are no petrol stations for hundreds of kilometers. If you're running out of fuel in these areas, it can be really dangerous due to extreme heat, lack of water, and limited phone reception. So my advice is plan your route carefully and know where the fuel stops are located. Also, carry extra fuel, water, and supplies, just in case of emergencies. And when it comes to carrying extra fuel, ensure any fuel containers are approved, leak-proof, and properly secured in your vehicle. Keep them out of direct sunlight and well ventilated, and away from any potential ignition sources. And always inform someone of your route and expected arrival times to ensure safety. And my final piece of advice on planning the best holiday in Australia is visit during the right season. Australia's climate varies wildly, so research the best time to visit your chosen destinations. For example, if you want to head to the Great Barrier Reef in the Australian winter, which is June to August, you'll avoid stinger season. Hold up a second. What's stinger season? Well, it runs from November to May in Northern Australia, when the waters are filled with jellyfish like the box jellyfish and the Urun kanji. These little critters pack a painful and potentially dangerous sting, so I suggest travelling outside of stinger season or just chilling by the pool. On the other hand, summer is a great time to visit Victoria. Melbourne has fantastic festivals, and in South Australia they have the Adelaide Fringe Festival in February and plenty of summer activities. So if you want some inspiration, here are some classic Aussie experiences that you might want to check out. Of course, the Great Barrier Reef, visit in winter to avoid stingers. Sydney and Melbourne, where you can explore iconic landmarks and vibrant cultures. Tasmania, perfect for nature lovers and hiking enthusiasts. The Outback, where you can discover the rugged beauty of Australia's Red Centre. And Western Australia, explore stunning beaches, wine regions, and the Ningaloo Reef and Rottnest Island. Get up close with those adorable quokkas. And here's a list of amazing non-touristy things to do in Australia. You can explore the Blue Mountains and hike lesser-known trails and discover hidden waterfalls and secluded lookouts. Visit local markets. Head to the weekend farmers markets in regional towns for fresh produce and handmade goods, perfect for a taste of local life and supporting the local economy. And you've got to experience the country pubs. Visit a historic outback pub for a pint and a chat with the locals. It's a slice of Aussie culture that tourists often miss. Though drink sizes vary a lot per state and they all have their different nicknames, but that's a separate video. Just order a schooner and she'll be right. And you've got wildlife spotting in national parks. Instead of going to zoos, head to the national parks to see wildlife in their natural habitats. And Aussies, please let me know in the comments below if you have any other great Aussie travel tips or places that we should check out. And of course, have as much Australian coffee as you can. It's some of the best in the world, if not the best. And as always, please remember to respect Australia's diverse culture and wildlife by following local guidelines and understanding the cultural significance of the areas you're visiting. It's one of the key ways to having a meaningful and respectful experience in this amazing country. And I've listed some amazing creators below that can help you out with that. Number 3, don't avoid wildlife on Australian roads. Driving in Australia, especially in rural areas, means sharing the road with wildlife like kangaroos, wombats, and even emus. And the best approach is to slow down and be vigilant, especially at dawn and dusk, and nighttime when animals are the most active. Kind of like Batman. If an animal suddenly appears in front of you, it's usually safer to brake rather than swerve, because swerving can lead to losing control or crashing into something else. So stay alert, keep your speed manageable, and always be ready to stop safely. And when I say stay alert, especially when you see signs like this, because it means that animals are very common in the area. So even though the speed limit may be 100 kilometers an hour, stay vigilant. And when I mean keep an eye out for wildlife, I mean even when walking or running when it's dark. I once went for a run just after dark in Toowoomba, Queensland, and suddenly I found myself dodging a swarm of toads. It was like doing the hopscotch of doom. So if you're driving or walking in rural areas, please always be on the lookout. Those roos can appear out of nowhere. And my Australian father wanted to help you out, so here's a note from him about the dangers that no one talks about, like being hit in the face by a high-flying fish while out fishing in your dinghy. Although this tends to only happen when you're in a small boat in North Queensland. Or even being hit by low-flying parrots while walking in the park, or walking into giant spiders' webs in the dark. Thanks, Dad. And before I go to number 4, I'm very excited to share with you that I got my first YouTube sponsorship with a brand I've been wanting to work with for a while. And I wonder if you've noticed where I've used them in the video. I've been so excited to try these out. These are Pair Eyewear glasses and frames, and I know you've seen these online. And they're meant to be changing the eyewear frame game and making life easier. But how would they work? So you'd never notice, but in the corner here are tiny little magnets. So all you want to do when you want to change your look is kapow! They're magnetic top frames that let you switch up your look in a snap. Good morning, everybody. I'll have an oat flat white, please. Okay, so back to business. What do they feel like? So the base pair of glasses feel really sturdy and they fit really well on my face. And the frames are lightweight and made of plastic, but feel really durable. And I know what you're thinking, but Jord, they're made of magnets. Do they actually stay in place? Well, let's put them to the test. Pretty good. So in my opinion, I saw these online, I thought they were a great idea, but would they actually work? And the answer is yes. One of the main reasons I'm loving my Pair Eyewear glasses is because when I'm driving, I always want to wear my sunglasses, but I also have my normal glasses and it's an awkward switcheroo. But now when I'm driving, all I have to do is this. Done. So easy. Driving like a crazy person. And I save so much handbag space now. And I just really like that I can change up my look just by doing that. So now you've seen how these work and how awesome they are. How do you choose the right pair of glasses online that suit your face shape? Here are my tips. All you have to do is hop onto the website and our first goal is to choose a pair of frames. Narrow it down to your top 2 or 3 favorites. And then this is the cool part. You can use the camera and then virtually try on a pair of frames. And what worked for me is choosing a shape that I've used in the past that suited my face and I knew I would like. And I picked the Sota pair of glasses in light pink. And then this is the fun part. You get to pick your top frames. And they've got so many designs to choose from. And then once you've picked your glasses and your frames, I got extras like blue light and got my lenses thinned. And then you just got to upload your prescription and you're done. And look how thin these are. I'm literally carrying around 3 different looks in my pocket. Thank you so much Pair Eyewear for sponsoring this video. I really like these. And if you want to try them for yourself, just click on the link in the description box below for 15% off your first pair using the code JordanaGrace15. And just for extra pizzazz, they are stackable. Number 4, don't diss the fairy bread. All right, here's the deal. Fairy bread may look like something a toddler concocted, but this colourful treat is an Aussie classic. Picture this, white bread, a generous smear of butter, and a heavy-handed of hundreds and thousands, which are just like sprinkles. It's the ultimate nostalgia snack, especially at kids' parties. And here's the golden rule. Do not, and I repeat, do not try to fancy it up with sourdough or skimp on the butter or the sprinkles. Aussies take their fairy bread very, very seriously, and any deviation will not go down well. You have been warned. I'm sure Aussies in the comments are going to tell you exactly how fairy bread needs to be made. And finally, on a list of top things not to do in Australia, don't complain about the heat at Christmas. Let me just tell you, New Year's resolutions in Australia are way easier to keep. I mean, who's motivated to get fit in a dark, dreary January? In the UK, you're waking up in the dark, you're getting home in the dark, trying to find the motivation to go jogging. No thanks. But in Australia, summer is from December to February, so you get New Year with beautiful sunshine, you can go to the beach, it's glorious. But that also means that Christmas down under is a whole different vibe. Picture this. It's over 40 degrees, and instead of huddling over a massive roast, you're nibbling down on seafood, salads, and sipping cold drinks. Oh, and Michael Bublé is crooning about a white Christmas, but there is no snow in sight. So I know, it's not really Christmas until you've eaten your weight in Lindor chocolates and fallen asleep on the sofa wearing an ugly Christmas jumper. But my advice is, don't complain about the heat at Christmas. Instead, embrace the festive barbecues, wear that Santa singlet, slap on some sun cream, and rock those flip-flops. I will not say, I just can't. But if you're craving that cozy, wintry Christmas vibe like I do, don't worry, because a lot of expats and even a lot of Aussies celebrate Christmas in July. Because why settle for one Christmas when you can have two? Let's work smarter, not harder. So there you have it, part 2 of the 5 things you should not do in Australia. Whether you're living in Australia, moving to Australia, or just visiting, avoid these common pitfalls and you'll be living like a true Aussie in no time. Oh, and here's your essential Aussie phrase to help you blend in like a local. No worries. And no, it doesn't mean that you don't care. It's just a common response that a lot of Aussies use. It's like a national motto to anything that could be said. Like, hey, can you grab the peanut butter from the shop? No worries. Can you send that email over? No worries. Hey, a volcano just exploded. No worries. Hey, that person's trying to count some butt scales on that snake. No worries. No, in that example, major worries. But yeah, use no worries when you're in Australia and it'll help you blend in. And remember, drop your Aussie do's and don'ts in the comments below. And thanks for the comments so far, I've loved them. I'm that British girl and I'll see you in the next video.